Okay, new video, 100% guaranteed part 2. Let me take a drink. All right. Okay. So the key to this beating mages 100% of the time in duels, like a dueling tournament, the key to what I'm about to talk about is a simple concept where we are going to force out ice blocks from the mage while at the same time not having to swap out of resistance gear. So for example, you start the duel in a nigh unkillable resist set with your favorite or your best your best killy weapon, basically, right? Your best wreck bomb or two-handed weapon, your Mina Minithil, your Hand of Rag, your Dark Edge of Insanity, your whatever the hell you're bringing to the party, right? Except you're in a full resist suit. And the idea here is that this is very specific to Ret Reckoning, but feel free to modify it for like deep control ret, like deep ret control ret, right? And what happens is the mage. Oh, right, we didn't talk about that in the last one, did we? Okay, I suppose we can talk about it now. Damn. All right. So before I go into fine detail here, there is one trick you can do to try to kill a mage. But really all it does is it forces out ice blocks. As we said kind of in the previous video, once mages run out of ice blocks, if we still have tools left, they're dead. So basically our kill scenario is how do we get out their ice blocks and how do we do it in a safe enough manner and how do we do it in such a way that we still have tools left that they're actually dead, right? And one of the things here is Tidal Charm specifically. Okay, so Goblin Mortar, if you don't know, has an animation to it, but it's got like a 0.5 second delay, and then it stuns the target like regardless of distance. Practically, it's kind of silly. Like you'll see this little stick of dynamite slowly fly over to the target, but the target's already been stunned and taken the damage. Tidal Charm, however, is instant, and this becomes a little bit nuanced and important. So, for example, let's say you see a mage blink, and then you instantly Tidal Charm them, right? Do they have to ice block, becomes the question. And the answer is that the mage is probably something like 20 yards away from you. Your run speed is like 8.64 yards per second, which means this mage is something like 2.2 seconds of run speed away from you. Which means that if they blink and you Tidal Charm them instantly, and then you ran your happy little, and then they ice blocked, and then you ran your little happy ass over to them. So now you're standing, they're in the ice block, and you're standing outside the ice block. This mage has to double ice block or die. Because by the time he comes out of the ice block, his blink is not going to be off of cooldown. You hit him with the wreck bomb. GG's, right? The better play for the mage is to recognize the direness of the situation. So you Tidal Charm them immediately after a blink. They ice block, cancel ice block, and then keep running, right? But at that point, if you know your distances, it becomes very easy to start using other things that you might have going on, such as rocket boots, for example, come into play. Because rocket boots will force out the cold snap into the second ice block at that point, right? Because they're not going to be able to get out of the blink. Even if you just grenaded them at that point, grenade might take too long. That's not true. You will definitely force out the second ice block. You just can't kill them. So for example, you Tidal Charm them, they blink, cancel, they keep running, you grenade them, your grenade's going to have like a 1.5 second stun. But that is actually plenty of time to get within melee range of them if you know your ranges, especially if they were any kind of slow whatsoever on the ice block cancel after the Tidal Charm thing. yeah, you're going to catch them in a Hodge stun, even though the Hodge stun's only going to last. Oh God, it's going to be 25% of a Hodge stun, 1.5 seconds. Yeah, you're going to catch them. You're going to force out that second ice block. So if you're understanding what I just said, it would be you got on top of the mage blinks, you title charm the mage, he realizes the direness of the situation, he ice blocks, cancels ice blocks, keeps running, you grenade him, you run over, you keep running 1.5 seconds away. You're like 8 yards away from him or something at this point. You can do the math if you want to. He comes out of the stun. He's like, yeah, I'm not in melee range. I'll just keep running. You Hammer of Justice stun him for 1.5 seconds. He goes, Jesus Christ, and just there's his second ice block. He'll sit in the ice block until he has blink, and then he blinks away and he sheeps you. But you basically traded Title Charm, Grenade, Hand of Justice for ice block, right? Or for both of their ice blocks. That is a really good trade. That is an extremely good trade sequence. And of course, if the mage is inexperienced, what happens, right? You title charm him, he ice blocks. It takes him a little bit too long to realize the direness of the situation, that he's actually going to need to do 2 ice blocks. And suddenly you didn't have to grenade him or anything like that, right? So he ends up sitting there for a million years. Then he just double ice blocks. And then he gets out, he blinks away. It's the same scenario where you use Title Charm to force out 2 ice blocks. Except now, you still have Grenade available, for example, right? Or Goblin Mortar or whatever the hell else you're using. Yeah, so that's something to keep in mind. But right now, we're going to talk about the no fun allowed, all mages die horribly version of this scenario. Just as soon as I take a breath. What's going on here? No, we're fine. Take a drink. About an hour and a half of talking is when my voice starts going kaput. And we still got some stuff to say here. Okay, so I'm just gonna talk about the scenario. I'm gonna run you through the death combo. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna sit here for a second. I'm gonna run you through the death combo, and you can see what you think about it. All right, so the death combo is you start in a resist suit. You have a wreck bomb 2-hander. The mage tries to kill you because that's what they do. It is possible for them to RNG on you and force out bubble. They have nothing better to do with their lives. That's what they're gonna do. There we go. You get a full wreck bomb charge. Cool. What do you do? It's important to realize that you're not in... The specific items that you're using are... You're going to have Gnomish Mind Control Cap. Possibly Goblin Rocket Helm. Those are interchangeable. We got them right here. Right, 30-minute cooldown, 20-minute cooldown, respectively. You're going to have Gnomish Cloaking Device Trinket on. Possibly. And then your other trinket might be Title Charm, or it might be a resist trinket to try to combat like Eye of Bob or something like that. It might be Major Recombobulator Ray, because that'll heal you for a significant amount and give you back some mana. It doesn't really matter. The core thing going on here is that you survive them easily. You get your full wreck. You get a full wreck bomb going, right? And then you do this horrible thing. All right, rocket boots are involved here. I forgot about that too. Then you can do these horrible things like use Gnomish Mind Control on the mage. So now we need to talk about Gnomish Mind Control Cap's mechanics. What it does is it will either mind control the mage, and the mage will start walking over to you, which is a death sentence for the mage. Not quite a death sentence, but it'll either mind control the mage, and the mage will start walking towards you, or it'll mind control you and have you start walking towards the mage. Not walking, it's actually quite quick. It's kind of fast. You close in the mage pretty quickly is what I'm trying to say. Why this is super deadly for the mage is because once you're untargetable, there's no way to cancel the effects. You can't do anything. So once you get within melee range of the mage, all you need to do to effectively kill him would be to bubble, gear swap, and wreck bomb him, right? Which you can do in a macro in a matter of microseconds, right? Literally, it would be bubble, gear swap, attack, and the mage, if he doesn't ice block immediately, he explodes, right? Because you still got to get the gear swap in for the DPS. You're untargetable. There's no way for him to put you in combat. Yada yada yada. Really really bad. So what this ends up doing is, keep in mind, you're still in your resist suit, right? By the time you get on top of the mage is in a combat scenario where he has to ice block or die. Like, literally, because he can waste your bubble here. Like, he can wait for the bubble and then ice block. But he's got to stare at you for like 15 seconds just wondering, where the hell is this bubble? When's this guy going to try to delete me? And then what you do, of course, on your end as the Paladin, is you bubble, but you don't gear swap, and you just stare at them, and you wonder if they're actually going to ice block or not. And of course, if they don't ice block, then you gear swap and just delete them. But if they're smart, they just ice block immediately, and you're still in your resist suit, so you're just chilling. What did this cost you? Well, it cost you mind control cap, and it cost you what is it? Yeah, it cost you mind control cap, and it cost you your bubble on a 5-minute cooldown, right? But you also have if he's in an ice block, he's going to have to sit it. Okay, what if he blinks? What if you bubble and then swap and then he blinks? Well, you got all kinds of tools to catch him. You're going to force out an ice block, right? He blinks, whatever. You're like, have a goblin mortar, have a grenade. I'm running at you. Oh, look, there's an ice block. You're getting the damn ice block, right? Did you have to gear swap or anything like that? No, not really. But there's also, he's ice blocking so quickly after a blink that he has to sit the ice block, which means you can gear swap. They're all roads lead to Rome here. All roads lead to a scenario where you forced out an ice block, but you did not actually have to get out of your resistance suit, if that makes any sense. If you did come out of your resistance suit in order to get the ice block, it's very easy for you to get back into the resistance suit if need be. Okay, so you just get to gear swap again. No problem, no harm, no foul. There's also the ZG neck piece, which allows you to stun them for 6.5 seconds. And just, even if you're in it's not a problem. Okay, we're cool with this. Okay, cool. So that's one scenario where that's one item. That's one scenario that you use to force out an ice block, except you didn't have to get out of your damn resistance suit. What other scenarios are very similar to this that we can then use a second time in the same dueling circumstances, so that we end up in a scenario where the mage doesn't have any ice blocks left? The other scenario is specifically Gnomish Cloaking Device, which is an hour-long cooldown, and Rocket Boots. So if you use Gnomish Cloaking Device, you go invisible for 10 seconds. They know you have a wreck bomb. Technically what you would do is you'd activate the rocket boots, you'd let them see the rocket boots, and then you use Gnomish Cloaking Device. They know there's a high-speed dickhead with a wreck bomb with the ability to gear swap into DPS gear, and delete, that is currently invisible and is going to be on top of them in a matter of seconds and can delete them out of existence. What do you do as the mage? Well, you ice block, because you have to ice block to time out the 10 seconds of the Gnomish, of the invisibility from Gnomish Cloaking Device. That he can't run away in a straight line. He can't outblink the rocket boots. He can't do any of that stuff. So again, we're in a scenario where you do not have to come out of your resistance suit in order to force out the ice block. Are you following me on this? Okay, so you rocket boots, Gnomish Cloaking Device, you have a wreck bomb, you're in your resist suit. They have to ice block or die, which means you don't have to get out of your resist suit. You just gear swap out the trinkets, get rid of the rocket boots. You're still in your resistance suit. That's another fucking ice block that you managed to get out of them that, didn't have to get out of your resist suit, which is kind of the whole purpose of this thing. The other scenario, of course, is you can play around Goblin Rocket Helm. Goblin Rocket Helm, since it, causes you to, stun them and all that stuff, incapacitate them, I think. So the scenario there is like you grenade them, they blink away, you rocket helm them, you're still in your resistance suit. They cannot sit the rocket helm because you can always gear swap and then delete them out of existence. They can ice block. It's hard for them to ice block cancel because of counterspell. Not counterspell, because they just recently blinked. You're physically on top of them, but if you know anything about it, you charge over to them, it knocks you down, you're like dazed or something, and then you just like slowly stand up. I don't know if you can bubble right then and there and just delete them out of existence. I would have to test that. But basically what it means is the mage just kind of goes, okay, rocket helm, whatever, and they just ice block, and they sit in their ice block until blink is up, right? But again, what did we do? Did we force out an ice block? Yes. Are we still in a resistance suit? Yes. Interesting. Okay, well now that's 3 scenarios. And on top of that, you can gear swap. The other thing about this whole scenario that I'm just describing is Gnomish Mind Control Cap, forcing out an ice block, and we can gear swap, which means we can get rid of the Gnomish Mind Control Cap and get into the Rocket Helm, right? For example. The Rocket Helm, what is it doing? Well, we run over there, we do our thing. The mage ice blocks. He's going to have to sit the ice block, which means that there's a really high probability. We're still in a resist suit, so we're not sweating it. Really high probability that we just get to gear swap out of the Rocket Helm into something else. So again, we're forcing out ice blocks. We're still in the resist suit. We are... and we have the ability to gear swap out of the items that we've just expended. Mind Control Cap, Rocket Boots, same scenario. We can easily gear swap out of them, and once we get the ice block, we can easily gear swap out of them into different trinkets and so forth and so on. The Tidal Charm scenario, where you get them to blink, Tidal Charm them, and then run on top of them, is also another scenario where you can easily get out a free ice block, and you didn't have to get out of your resist suit, because again, you're super threatening at any time if you can just swap into your resistance. Whatever, you get the point. So the reason why all of this is a no fun allowed combo is you can combo the combo into another combo into another combo, and at some point the mage just doesn't have ice block anymore, and because they don't have ice block, they die. Right? So our first combo was the Tidal Charm Blink combo. Our second one was Gnomish Mind Control combo. We got Gnomish Cloaking Device combo, and then we got Goblin Rocket Helm combo. The reason why all this is super deadly is because you can mix multiples of them, right? You can have Gnomish Cloaking Device, Tidal Charm, Goblin Rocket Boots, and like Goblin Rocket, I would use Mind Control Cap, right? You can have all of that and a resist suit at the same time. And that's where shit gets deadly as fuck. Because you start off by using like the cloaking device. So I'll give you a scenario. You start off by using the cloaking device and the rocket boots. Mage has to ice block or die. Cool. We get the ice block. The mage lives, but we also gear swap out of the Gnomish Cloaking Device into a different trinket, probably Goblin Mortar, for example, and then we get out of the boots and into some better boots. Cool. No problem. We also might have used like our resistance trinket to survive like their Eye of Moab. For example, if you don't know what the hell that is, it's like it lowers your resistances by 100 for like 30 seconds. It's cancer. So we used a resistance trinket. Now we used our Gnomish Cloaking Device. When we did the gear swap out of the Gnomish Cloaking Device, we got into our Tidal Charm and our Goblin Mortar, or a PvP trinket, or whatever the hell, pick your poison, right? And the next thing you know, we're using the Gnomish Mind Control technique to get out the next ice block. Okay, cool. So we use Gnomish Mind Control. We got the next ice block. Now we're looking at Goblin Mortar, Tidal Charm. We may or may not still have Bubble. We might have PvP Trinket available to us. Tidal Charm, PvP Trinket. Someone's going to die with enemies have no ice blocks. If we ever find a time where we can get into Goblin Rocket Helm, I knew there was a reason I was talking about our PvP Trinket. I just couldn't remember what the hell it is. The reason why I'm talking about PvP Trinket and Tidal Charm over Goblin Mortar, for example, is if we have PvP Trinket. Okay, so let's say we've used Gnomish Mind Control device. What the hell am I trying to say here? If we need a gear swapping, if we've forced out both ice blocks and we need another gear swapping opportunity to get into our DPS set so we can end this and actually kill this mage, and the mage is trying to play around the fact that he's dead if we get into our DPS suit from here, yeah, PvP Trinket. So what's he gonna do? Sheep you, eat and drink, and then you PvP Trinket and then get into the DPS suit, and you still have Tidal Charm, and he's like 30 seconds away. He's dead, right? Like, do not pass go, do not. All right, I remember now. You get into your Goblin Rocket Helm at that point. So you're just like, if Tidal Charm doesn't kill you, when I gear swapped, I also put on Goblin Rocket Helm to go with all the my DPS burst gear. He's dead. Okay, all roads lead to Mage doth do die. I don't know how to explain it any other way. There are some things a mage can do, like in pure theory. Like, if the mage is also using, like, a cloaking device or Gnomish Mind Control cap or Goblin Rocket Helm somewhere in this scenario, theoretically, they can maybe live. But I would point out that Rocket Helm, when a mage Rocket Helms you, it's a borderline death sentence for them. Especially if they don't have ice blocks. It's actually kind of hilarious. The reason for this is because you can bop out of Rocket Helm. So someone Rocket Helms you, and so they come over to you, they stun themselves for a second, and while they're stunned and standing in front of you, you like bop, cancel bop, and wreck bomb them and delete them out of existence. You're just like, what the hell was that? And you're like, bop, cancel bop, bam, dead. I've done that to so many rogues, it's actually kind of ridiculous over the years. I'm just like, what are you doing? Why are we wasting our time here? Warriors love doing that. They're like, Rocket Helm me. I'm just like, bop, cancel, bop. And the next thing I know, they just get deleted out of existence. It's pretty funny. They're like, oh, shit. Am I standing toe-to-toe with a Paladin and just wreck bomb me? I'm fucked. Yep. Yes, you are. All right. Is that the end of the video here? It might actually be the end. 23 minutes. Oh, interesting. All right, and of course, all of this is taken into account that we haven't even started talking about like the skeleton pet summons. So the skeleton pet summons are still in play here. So if you want to do like some one-handed stuff with this scenario, I've thought about it, but in my brain, it's just kind of like, Mage already died. Mage died a long time ago. Like, how do I counter that as a mage becomes the question. It's like, I don't think you do. I think you just die. You could talk about reflector trinkets. I could add those into the mix. Can we use reflector trinkets here? Like, once they're out of ice blocks, reflector trinkets become pretty good. But really, we just like things that don't let us be sheep from here on out. So, that might be a thing. It might actually be worth it to mess around with Skull of Impending Doom at that point. Skull of Impending Doom has issues when the mage has ice blocks. But if the mage doesn't have ice blocks anymore, and all he's got left going for him is I need to sheep this guy, then things like, we already talked about the skeleton pet summons become nasty, but skeleton pet summons also become nasty in conjunction with Skull of Impending Doom, for example, right? Skull of Impending Doom sucks because it drains your mana like crazy. But at the same time, you can use it pretty easily to ignore at least one sheep. Um, I usually don't like it. If I'm using Skull of Impending Doom, it's usually because I don't have. I'm trying to chain the skeletons together, and I've got too much time left to go. So, for example, you summon one skeleton, you swap into Skull of Impending Doom. Um, a PvP trinket is also an amazing thing to have under those circumstances, if still available under these conditions. If my skeleton dies before I can summon another skeleton, I can use Skull of Impending Doom and possibly PvP trinket to prevent the mage from eating and drinking. Once Skull of Impending Doom has been expended in this manner, I just switch over to the Book of the Dead. Again, there's a 30-second cooldown on the swap, but it doesn't really matter, right? So you summon one skeleton, you swap over to Doom. 30 seconds later, you can use the Doom. So you'll use the Doom to negate at least one sheep, and then cancel it immediately, and then get into your second Book of the Dead, which giving it a 30-second cooldown. You get where we're going with this, right? But that's the whole kill them using the whole mana bar thing. It's important to note that all these things kind of chain together somewhat. This is if you're hedging your bets. So if you hedge your bets against mages, how you'd want to pull it off is you're in your resist suit, they're trying to kill you, you have a wreck bomb. Just because you have a wreck bomb doesn't mean you go for it, like right here, right now. A lot of times the best thing to do is to wait for the mage to get low in mana trying to kill you, and then you go for all these shenanigans. Then you pull this stuff out of your hat. Because not only do they have to try to survive all this nonsense with their ice blocks and all that crap, so you're wasting their ice, you're getting the ice blocks out of them, but they also have to deal with the fact that they may or may not be low mana. And that's where certain deep holy builds, like Holy Shock builds, or Shock Eye Command, that kind of stuff that doesn't have the Wreck Bomb, and this also becomes super important when you're talking about like Control Ret. Control Ret has some additional features that really help them with these combos. I've been specifically talking about Reckoning up until this point. But Control Ret can do really nasty chains with this kind of stuff in conjunction with, like, Repent being on a 1-minute cooldown, and being able to use skeleton summons and Skull of Impending Doom and stuff like that. Whereas basically the Deep Ret Paladin is they're threatening a kill combo on the mage, and they're forcing out ice blocks because they do have the potential to roll high and delete them out of existence, which the mage kind of has to respect, but doesn't have to respect at the same time. But if you also work over their mana bar in conjunction with potentially forcing out the ice blocks, it can be a really, really big problem for the mages. So, for example, I haven't thought a lot about it because I usually play Reckoning Paladins, but like a Control Ret Paladin can do really nasty things. Like basically you're just jousting them until you force out an ice block, and once you get the ice block, it's oh god, how am I trying to describe this? What I'm trying to say is it's the exact scenario in reverse. So what Reckoning is doing is you're in the resist suit and you're forcing out the ice block without having to get out of your resist suit, and you're just gear swapping it into other things that force out ice blocks, right? What a Deep Ret Paladin would do, which is going to be closer to what a Holy Paladin would do, is the Holy Paladin might sit in the resist suit though, is the Control Ret Paladin is actually swapping into the DPS gear and then bitch slapping the mage to force out the ice block. So basically, you would be using the exact same tactics, except rather than it guaranteeing an ice block, the mage might call your bluff and say, hit me. And if he says hit me, what he's basically saying is, I'm going to force you to get out of your resist suit and into your DPS suit in order to force this, and I want to see the RNG to force this ice block. And if you do that, what ends up happening is you use your CC abilities to get back into your resist suit. So, for example, let's take the mind control cap, for example, right? No, we'll do Gnomish cloaking device. That's a better example. So you rocket boot, you have Gnomish cloaking device, and the mage just does an ice block. You're a deep ret paladin. He just does an ice block. So he's like, no, dude, I'm gonna force you into your DPS suit. I'm gonna force you to hit me, and only then, once I see this RNG, will I ice block. Okay, so you did that. You did all that, right? You swapped into your DPS gear, you bitch slapped him, you forced out the ice block. They're just going to come out of the ice block, like blink, sheep you, or they're going to ice block you, and they're just going to, they're just going to sheep you, basically. They see the RNG, they're like, oh crap. My point is, you use the CC that you have available to you as a deep ret paladin to get back into your resist suit. It's not the biggest thing in the world for you, because to get back into the resist suit, primarily because you don't benefit from reckoning at all. But it's important to realize that you can force out the ice block and then get back into the resist suit if you have to, even as a deep ret paladin, if that makes any sense. Like you bitch slapped them, you didn't do enough damage to them to force out the ice block. You see them going for a sheep, so at that point you're like, all right, fine, repent. The act of repenting them is definitely going to cause them to force out an ice block. They're either going to sit the ice block, which will let you for a while. Then they'll try to blink away or something like that. Yada yada yada. You're gonna die if you don't get back into your resist suit type scenario, right? Congratulations, you forced out the ice block, but it cost you repent to do so, or it cost you your goblin mortar to do so, or it cost you good RNG. We're hoping good RNG, and we didn't have to use any of this, but if we didn't get good RNG, the repent's definitely going to force out the ice block. The goblin mortar is going to force out the ice block. The tidal charm is going to force out the ice block. Your standard CC kit, hell, Hand of Justice at that point is probably going to force out the ice block, right? Your standard CC toolkit is going to force out the ice block because, yeah, they can survive one auto attack Andy to the face, but can they survive two auto attack Andys to the face without having to ice block? Becomes a scenario for them. But you have such a deep wealth of CC that it's very easy for you to like watch them blink away from you 20 yards. You CC them immediately, so they've ice blocked. Then they blink away. You just CC them. You run away in a straight line, like we talked about before, and then you get back into your resist suit, and AKA swap into the other gear that'll force out another ice block. So you can use the exact same stuff in a completely different manner to force to get the ice blocks out that you need to get out to put the mage in a very disadvantageous situation. But on top of that, for deep ret control paladin specifically, you got the two books of the dead, and you have Skull of Impending Doom that you can weave in there. Skull of Impending Doom, especially under dueling circumstances, is extremely good when paired with a major recombobulate array. Do not forget about that combo, because one, it's going to suck away your mana. That might be an issue. Might be a deal breaker for you with Skull of Impending Doom, but recombobulate array, picks up the slack there, no problem. Reflectors are also absolute cancerous ass for mages, especially with all this gear swapping going on for deep ret paladins, because you can outplay them pretty fucking hard with the reflectors. What else is there? But my point is, if you start, what the resist suit is doing for you as a deep ret paladin is it's letting you initiate all this nonsense. While the mage is only has like a third of their mana bar to play with. And it's what's going to kill them is either you getting lucky or your auto attack Andes, or this ocean of nonsense that you keep throwing at them to force out the ice blocks, or they eventually just run out of mana. One of the major advantages that you have as a deep ret control paladin are the skeleton summons. You don't have to have the two-hander out at all times to maintain the wreck bomb, right? The advantage to the wreck bomb style is you have fucking wreck bomb. The advantage, but the disadvantage is you don't get any of that skeleton pet wear out their mana bar type playstyle. Deep Ret gets to straddle the line between forcing out the ice blocks and wearing on the mana bar. So it's very advantageous for you to play both angles at the same time in case one fails for you. So if the ice block stuff isn't working out for you very well, you're sure as fuck going to start getting out their mana bar. Do not be afraid to do skeleton summons in conjunction with all of this nonsense. Anyways, I'm going to end the video here. Deus Vult. Hopefully that is food for thought. To be perfectly honest, I've only well thought out the reckoning side of this, and I've only really well thought out the holy reckoning side of this, which of course includes the Hammer of Wrath type scenario. So when I say that 1 in 3 of my wreck bombs deletes the mage as a holy reckoning paladin, what I really mean to say is 1 in 3 of my bombs will either outright kill the mage or drop them to such low life levels that Hammer of Wrath play starts becoming super viable to finish them off. And of course, that Hammer of Wrath stuff translates very well to control ret, especially in low mana type scenarios where they just don't have the mana to deal with you anymore, and they just kind of die because of that. Anyways, end the video here, and Deus Vult, boys.